Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tasha. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. No periodic table, no alien talk. However, the creator came through with a message. All right. If this is your first time tuning in, hi, hello, welcome, thank you. Please follow us on the tube at Inappropriate Radio TV. Alright, let's get into this. So, as you guys know, we've been talking about bloodlines and generational cycles and curses and hexes and spirits and spells and all of that jazz, right? The creator revealed something to me a little earlier this morning, okay? We oftentimes, and we've talked about this in the very beginning, we talked about how people get to experience these really large families, right? And it's usually because there is a mission that is associated with that bloodline, right? Or there's a frequency, and the frequency is so large that that amount of energy cannot go inside of one vessel. So it's spread out, across all these different vessels, right? So today I was just spending a little time with God like I do, and he was just expressing to me that this is happening. Now, remind you, this is a 2-3 year old conversation. I want to say that topic is from 21. Really, honestly, I believe, yeah, it's from like 21. So, in reality, a lot of the families who only have one child or siblings, like within generations. So let's just say a grandparent has 10 children, right? And that's pretty fruitful, right? Even if the energy that's being cast out by that family or that bloodline isn't optimal, not optimum, okay? Not the cable company. It's not optimum. It's not ideal, right? There has to be some sort of purpose. However, if there is a curse that is associated with it, with the bloodline, right? God will start to decrease the amount of offspring that comes out of that line. So let's just say this parent has 10 kids. Maybe there's 5 fathers. I'm just throwing this out there because both bloodlines matter, right? So let's just say each dad has 2 children with the woman, right? Let's just say 5, doesn't matter which, mix it up, however. 5 of those kids, okay, let's be even and fair. Let's just say 5 of the kids actually did what they were supposed to do, so they got to advance the bloodline. And then the other 5, right, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, so now they have to pay the karma. They have to not only pay the karmic debt that was created by their parents, but the karmic debt that they've created by not stepping into their calling has now also been taxed and waged against them, right? In that instance, this is where those branches and roots start to take their own space. So those who have stepped into their calling and they were obedient to the voice of the Creator and they're doing exactly what God wants them to do, or if they're just in the ballpark, right? Maybe it's not word for word, bar for bar, line for line, but maybe it's in the correct realm, right? Those will be the people, okay, that actually get to start their own new families. They break away because what happens is there's a distinction already going on in the spirit, right? God creates these bloodlines to flourish and grow and develop where it's supposed to be fruitful and multiply, right? But then when you have people who are doing things that doesn't correlate with building a family, it starts to make the tree a little weaker. It starts to weaken the link. Remember, we talked about that, right? There are always going to be weak links in the family, and it's your job as the chosen one, the woke one, the conscious one, the anointed one, the star seed, the black sheep, the indigo, the star seed, whatever you refer to yourself as, right? The woke one. It's your job to make sure that that link gets strengthened or removed. It's that simple. And now you can remove the link by upgrading the frequency of the bloodline. So everything that is in direct correlation or connection to that link becomes strengthened by your energy, right? And it could just be you raising the vibration because you're getting closer to the creator. Your walk and way of life is an example of what needs to be done. You eating better, you getting good rest, or you just answering the call, right? Because just because some people are walking with God doesn't mean that they're doing what God wants them to do. That's two different things. We need to make sure we're not getting confused. Just because someone is doing something good or something seems to be the good or right thing to do doesn't mean that it's in God's will for you, right? So we have to make sure that we're being obedient to the directions and the leadership and guidance of the Creator, and our angels and our ancestors. So, and I mean, these are angels and ancestors of our highest good and vibration, because we talked about this as well. We have angels and ancestors that don't want to be removed from our auric field. So they do things to manipulate and drag down the energy to keep themselves relevant in your space. So you have to make sure you're calling in the highest vibration that is attached and compatible with your current timeline. That's very important, okay? Now, when you start to see these families dwindle down, right? Meaning going from 10 kids to 2 kids or 3 kids or 4 kids, where you see a dramatic decrease in the amount of offspring being born. There's a curse involved, but there is one of two things going on when you see that, right? So it's either God giving you a test trial to restart the bloodline, right? Especially if you see more women than men. When you see more men than women, then you are awaiting a feminine balance to counteract the energy that is currently in the bloodline. I'll say it again. When you see more women in a bloodline than men, then that is God's way of giving that bloodline an opportunity to recalibrate and restart their own bloodline. When you see a bunch of men, more men than women, then there is a wait. That means in the spirit, the Creator is waiting for the correct portal and cycle to start, where feminine energy can come and recalibrate the bloodline. Because remember, it's technically the woman that's giving birth to the babies. All right. I mean, in this day and age, I don't know what's going on in this day and age, but typically and traditionally, yes. Okay. It's very important that we understand where we lie in all of this, because a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate not, being included in expanding the bloodline. And it's okay to assume, right, that you are gonna be up next. I mean, not everyone is meant to have a child, right? Some people are just meant to bring the energy into the bloodline so that those that are connected to them can become infected with that frequency to raise the vibration and then move forward. And maybe the next generation can multiply or, triple or whatever. They can enhance that frequency. Everybody is not supposed to be out here popping babies out, okay? I think it's important for us to know that as well, because a lot of people, they get upset, okay, with moving timelines, with moving parts, meaning a lot of people, especially women, cannot keep up with the movement that is connected to the bloodline. And a lot of times it's really, really hard to determine like which direction you want to take the bloodline in, right? And this is for people who actually pay attention, meaning what is the quality of men that we are raising in our bloodline? What is the quality of men that we're sleeping to? Are you noticing that all of the women in our family date lawyers? All of the women in our family date drug dealers? All of the women in our family date, entrepreneurs? The women who take account and observe such things are responsible for changing their frequency. If you can notice anything that needs to be corrected, and if you have the ability to correct it, it's your responsibility to correct it. Whether you think you're chosen or not, whether you think you're religious or spiritual or not, doesn't matter. If you can see and pinpoint where the change needs to be implemented, then it is partially your responsibility to make the change. It's that simple, okay? The other aspect of that is God saying, okay, I have given, because remember, this is a two-portion or two-sided curse. So God curses the bloodline, and he's like, no more frequencies are allowed to come out of this bloodline until someone raises it high enough for me to say, yes, more children can be born. Or when you start seeing these big families, it is the result of a generational spell or curse being broken. Meaning, at some point there was a curse and now it was broken, so now they get to be fruitful and multiply. There's usually one person who only has one child, right? And maybe they'll get really old and die. And maybe like the eldest sibling is like, the churchgoer, or the youngest one is like the churchgoer. There's usually some discord in between one person and the rest of the family, okay? This is how you know that a spell is being broken off the bloodline. And it's usually not that person to have a bunch of children. It's usually that person who has one or two or no children at all that's breaking the curse, because they're bringing the frequency. My goodness, how much energy can one vessel carry, right? And usually if this person does have a child, it's usually a little later on in life or really, really early on in life. Like I said, it's usually everybody else who pops out all these babies, and the one who's breaking the curse usually has no children at all or way less children than everybody else, okay? When you start to see multiple babies coming out of everyone, that is a result of the spell being broken. I actually got some of this download a few weeks ago, and then the creator just dropped all this spiritual information on me, and I'm like, whoa. So wait. Let me get a pen. Let me get a pen. So yeah, we have to learn how to recognize what types of curses we have on our bloodlines outside of the spirits that are present, right? Because those are just spirits. Those are spirits. There are other energies and frequencies that are around us that rest in our bloodline, because they're integrated into our DNA already. And there are cycles or patterns that needs to be broken in order for the next cycle or the next upgrade to occur. Not everything is about getting rid of a spirit. Sometimes it's about getting the spirit to come into the bloodline. And that's a totally different topic. But, the gist of this conversation is for us to be able to understand and realize that a lot of our frequency, a lot of our energy, a lot of everything we see with our family is based off of many decades before and many decades to come. Your job is to find out what's missing. All right. But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. I hope all is well. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all weekend. Hope y'all are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea. Peace.